What's up, guys? It's the Midwest Swing Daily Podcast. This is your host, Brandon Warren. I am joined by, as always, Buster and Oscar here at the house. Check us out. I'm going to post online that we're up here and running. You can probably hear Buster meowing. Gave him some treats, and I can't understand why he's being so annoying, but we'll figure that out here in just a second. All right, so we are ready to go. We are beginning a Twins and Chicago White Sox series this evening at Target Field. 7:10 first pitch. Dylan Covey making his major league debut against Adalberto Mejia for the Minnesota Twins. Mejia, I have been asked by a few people if I think Mejia's rotation spot is in danger. And the answer to that is that I do think he has to be concerned about his rotation spot with Jose Barrios waiting in the wings, obviously pitching very well down at AAA Rochester, and doing a fantastic job. So it's going to be interesting to see if Mejia struggles tonight. Granted, it probably won't be to the level that it was against the White Sox last time out, which was 1.2 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, couldn't find the strike zone. 2 walks, no strikeouts, and so we'll see what his ability is to find the strike zone. But I do think he has to be worried about his rotation spot if he does struggle tonight, just because Barrios, 84 pitches, last time up for the Red Wings, is he's looking like he's ready to make that jump, and the Twins are probably ready to let him do that as well. Again, the reminder, you can find us on Twitter at Midwest Swing Pod. We are part of the Cold Omaha Podcast Network. You can find Cold Omaha on Twitter. It's actually Zone Coverage. It's Zone Coverage MN with the @ sign in front of it, obviously, because it's Twitter. If you do shop on Amazon, go to zonecoverage.com/Amazon. You can give us a little bit of a kickback. You can support all our great content. Nothing changes for you as far as your Amazon experience is concerned, whether you use Amazon Prime, Amazon Pantry, any of the great services that Amazon provides. So check us out, zonecoverage.com/Amazon. Especially check us out at Zone Coverage at zonecoverage.com. We got a lot of fun stuff going on. Luke Inman has been awesome with his NFL draft coverage. So, he's done a couple mocks. I think we're up to mock draft number 3, and it's the 4-round mock from Luke. So he just posted the 4th round yesterday. So if you want to see who the Vikings are getting in rounds 2 through 4, check that out. And obviously it's a big time of year with the draft coming up here very soon. Not as much Viking stuff going on. Timberwolves new logo. Season just ended here the other night, so a lot of fun stuff there. And of course, can't forget about the Wild, who are in the early stages of their season against the series against the Blues, falling in a tough one, 2-1 in overtime the other night. Big game coming up tonight. You can check out some coverage from Heather Rule. You can check out some coverage from Giles Farrell, Ben Remington, Tom Schreier. We got all kinds of Wild coverage for you coming up here throughout the course of the week. And heading into next week, and hopefully, celebrating a Wild series win. But obviously, they're down 1-0. So let's take a look at this White Sox series here that's beginning tonight at Target Field. Obviously, Dylan Covey again making his major league debut against Adalberto Mejia. So might be some runs scored tonight at Target Field. Twins obviously off to a good start at 6-3. Chicago, on the other hand, in a bit of a rebuild. They are 4-4. So obviously holding their own so far through the early portion of the season. Before we get too far into it, if you are watching on Periscope, please send your questions to Twitter at Brandon_Warren or at Midwest Swing Pod. I can't keep track of them on the screen of Periscope while I'm breaking down some stuff here. So if you send your questions to Twitter, it's much more easy for me to answer them. We have had some video issues so far as getting the Periscope posted to YouTube so we can do it as a simulcast. I am recording on my old iPhone right now. So hopefully we can get things figured out so that we can post these as simulcasts. So you can watch video if you choose to look at my ugly mug, or the cats if you prefer, or if you can listen on your devices on iTunes or on Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play. Any of the spots where you like to listen to it. We did get a pretty nice listener audience yesterday. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so Anyway, back to the series that's beginning tonight at Target Field. Saturday is Jose Quintana and Irvin Santana, which is going to be obviously a very fun matchup. 1:10 first pitch at Target Field, and then Easter Sunday, the game I'm going to as a fan, which doesn't happen all that often, taking my wife and my brother. The pitching matchup there is let's see, so 3:10 first pitch. James Shields and Hector Santiago. So hopefully the Twins can take 2 out of 3 or a sweep, keep this early season roll going, and head into the Cleveland series on Monday, which is going to be a real fun series with some positive positive mojo, positive momentum heading into what's going to be a tough series. As we've noted before, too, get excited. Wednesday, the Twins are going to be on ESPN. I know John Shambi, you might know him as Boog Shambi, is going to be in town to cover that one. So Twins getting a little national love to start the season, which is obviously going to be a whole lot of fun. Let's take a look at Twitter and see what anybody's got as far as questions go. Yesterday, so Eric Pleiss at eRolf Pleiss on Twitter gave us a bunch of stuff. Today, his twin brother, yes, there's 2 of them, Paul Pleiss, sent us a couple of questions, actually more than a couple. Let's just see how many of them we can get to. So the first question from Paul is, with spring well underway and summer fast approaching, we got snow the other day. I don't know if I'd say summer is fast approaching and spring is well underway, but I'll digress here. What is the best grilling trick I should perfect to impress my neighbors? I've been reading about reverse searing, where you actually sear it at the end instead of the beginning. So maybe that would be an interesting one. I've been also looking up sous vide. I'm not sure if I'm going to say that right. The method of cooking where you cook it in water and it never gets over the temperature. Or actually you cook it at a low temperature and it never gets over the temperature of where you want it to get. So you can leave it in the oven for like 45 minutes when it stays at the temperature that you're looking for. And it's a very stable way to cook. You never have to worry about if your guests show up late or anything. So I probably botched how to say sous vide. I think it's sous vide. I don't know. I'm probably totally wrong. But someone can reach out in the comments and tell me how dumb I am. Paul also wants to know, is smoking a doobie similar to smoking a brisket? I have never done either of those things, so you're going to have to take that question elsewhere. Does anyone actually like rhubarb? Paul, I'm disappointed in you, but yes. In fact, my sister is coming to visit us next weekend as we prepare for our baby little Harper Elizabeth to come, and she is coming from Duluth and bringing us a pie from Betty's Pies, the legendary pie place up from that neck of the woods, and I asked for a strawberry rhubarb. So I'm offended that you would diss my sensibilities there. So rude, just rude. What is required to be put in the tortilla for it to be a taco or a burrito? That's a good one. I would say either rice or meat. I'm not vegan, I'm not, anything like that, but I can respect people who are. So either rice or meat. And so if you do one or the other, I think you've got a taco or a burrito. Is a hot dog taco actually a taco? I will not answer that because I don't do the hot dog. Is hot dog a sandwich question? And I feel like that is one of those. Will Return of the Swing ever happen for Joe Mauer? I think we've kind of reached that point where I don't think so. He's coming up on his 34th birthday here, and he just kind of is who he is at this point. He can still make plenty of contact, doesn't have a ton of power, but can drive the ball to the opposite field. Specifically, I think you're looking at probably a 7-8 home run season. Hopefully, he can slug 400. If he can do that, I think his defense is good enough to the point where he can be an asset for the Twins at first base. But I think as far as him playing every day against lefties, that is kind of dead. So hopefully, the Twins figure out what to do with the bench so they can supplement that, because I don't think Chris Jimenez is the answer at first base or third base if you have to sit Joe Mauer against lefties. So it'll be interesting to see how the Twins handle that, because either Kenny Vargas or Byung-Ho Park is probably the answer at first base if that can't happen. Again, reminder, if you have questions, please send them to me on Twitter at Brandon_Warren or to at Midwest Swing Pod. Obviously, I'm more likely to see them at my handle at Brandon_Warren. Please follow me if you're not. But I don't see them on the screen here for Periscope quickly enough to get to them. So send them to my Twitter account, and we will get to them as quickly as we can. How much do you hate the hashtag Sano Doubter? I wouldn't say I hate it because it means that he hit a home run, but I prefer Miggy Smalls. I haven't got a lot of pushback, good or bad or otherwise, for Miggy Smalls. I think Miggy Smalls is actually good, you know, but people don't really seem to have much in the way of care about that one. And the other one too, for me, is I call the outfield gun range, hashtag gun range. I know it did rankle someone that I told it about it, and I believe in like the responsible gun ownership and usage of it. So I don't think it's glorifying gun usage in any way or shape or form. So I'm going to keep doing hashtag gun range when Max Kepler, Byron Bucks, and Eddie Rosario make a great play in the outfield. They all have guns, they all have good range, and I think it just kind of is a funny dual meaning. 612 Crew was submitted by one of the listeners of the podcast or followers on Twitter. That's a good one too. I think I prefer gun range, but 612 Crew is pretty good as well. Well, you know, we'll see how long they stay intact, and if Byron Buxton ever starts hitting, it'll be interesting to see if he's in the lineup today. Let's see. Nick Moen wants to know if I'm wearing a Twins hat. No, I am actually covering up my ugly hair for so far this morning with an Oakland A's hat, and since we're recording in high def, you can probably see the cat hair all over it. Kind of comes with the territory living in this house, but you know, we got cats everywhere, and so they're all over my stuff, which is actually kind of funny, and it means I got cat hair on everything. But you know, I love them, so it's good. Anyway, so let's break down this Twins start here. Obviously 6-3. I'm going to break down kind of how they've done offensively. You know, big offensive outburst to wrap up the series yesterday. I believe it was an 11-4 win. Phil Hughes has looked fairly sharp so far. Pretty good command. Not a ton of strikeouts. I am going to ask him about pitching backwards. I haven't broken down his last start. Yesterday, obviously. With the first start, a lot of change-ups, a lot of knuckle curves, which, let's see if he'll let me take a picture of the grip that he gets on that too for my post today as I do pregame coverage. But, you know, it's interesting if he doesn't have that fastball that, you know, pops 91, 92, which again isn't high in velocity, but is decent. You know, if he doesn't have that, he's going to have to pitch backwards. He's got good enough command to pitch backwards, and so I think that can be an effective way for him to sustain, you know, a decent start to the season. You know, it's not going to make him an ace. It's not going to make him a high-end pitcher. But, you know, part of the deal is, you know, when you're 30 going on 31, like Phil Hughes is, you have to think the game as well as you execute the game. And so, hopefully, you know, that's the kind of start he's off to. Obviously, Irvin Santana, you can't hate on his start. The sliders moving quite a bit. Not a ton in the way of strikeouts, only 7 through 13 innings, but those will come. I suspect he'll settle in maybe 7.5 strikeouts per 9, you know, 7 to 7.5, which is right around a little bit beneath actually league average. But 4 hits through 13 innings and 4 walks, so only 8 base runners. It's a .62 WHIP, meaning, you know, he's allowing about 2 base runners for every 3 innings. Pretty hard to sustain runs scored when opposing teams are only getting 2 guys on every 3 innings, and as a result, 1 earned run on a solo home run so far through 2 starts. So he's been impressive. Hector Santiago, also impressive. 3 walks and 11.1 innings. You know, the biggest issue with him, I wouldn't call it necessarily issue, but he'll battle his command a little bit here and there. That's been good so far this season. Not a lot of strikeouts either, but that'll be something to keep an eye on as well. Kyle Gibson, you know, it's been a disappointing start for Gibson. I noted on yesterday's show, it's like if he has thrown... he's got 9 innings so far this year, and I would suspect 7 of them have been very good, and 2 of them have been very poor. And one of each of those poor innings coming in each of his first 2 starts. As a result, 8 earned in 9 innings. Don't have to be a math genius to know that's an 8.0 ERA, which doesn't look good. But the strikeouts have been there. I think for the most part the grounders have as well. And you know, I still have hope for him as he works through things with Jason Castro. I think he's still got potential to be fairly good. I don't think the bullpen has looked too bad. Obviously, Justin Haley, I didn't necessarily have really nice words for Haley last time, but I do think he's turned into, you know, a decent option as a long guy at the early part of the bullpen. What's pivotal for having Haley emerge as a long guy is that means you can start using Duffy in higher leverage situations. Obviously, through 6 innings, no earned runs for Duffy. only 3 strikeouts, but the curveball has looked good, the fastball has looked good, and he's really looked solid out of the pen. It would be nice to be able to have another arm at the back end of games to supplement the bridge to Kinsler. Obviously Ryan Presley, who hasn't worked much, only 2 innings through the first 9 games, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want to wear out a guy like that. Fortifying that back end of the bullpen is going to be huge, and if they can do it in-house, especially with, it sounds like, I'm going to follow up on this. Bob Sacramento was posting on Twitter today that JT Chagua is down at extended, which is weird because I don't think he's even on the disabled list for AAA Rochester. So I am going to follow up on that and see what I can find out. But, if Chagua isn't able to help this team in the near future, you do need guys to step up and emerge. Craig Breslow obviously looking a lot better yesterday in the Tiger series with his second appearance than his first. Again, we'll be interested to see how long they hang on to him. But Michael Tonkin hasn't done a very bad job. Taylor Rogers, obviously, doing a nice job as well. The bullpen has been really, really good. And, I mean, the pitching staff on the whole is second in the AL ERA at 2.77. They're doing it a little bit by unconventional means, as you might expect. They're last in strikeouts with 59, but they are third best in walks with 26. The FIP, 4.13 and a 2.77 ERA means they're getting a little bit lucky as well. But I think they're also being bailed out by a pretty good defense. I don't think anybody has looked too bad defensively so far this season. Everybody, looks competent out there, and that's huge for a pitching staff that's not going to strike out a ton of batters. And I mean, 6.8 strikeouts per 9. That's not the end of the world. This isn't the Twins teams of recent years that were striking out, 5 or so, between 5 and 6 or anything like that. So it is, they've looked all right in terms of strikeouts. The bullpen obviously, much better than the rotation. But I think eventually things will kind of even out to the point where I don't know if they can be league average strikeout wise, but they shouldn't bring up the rear. Knock on wood, but we'll see what happens there. Offensively, it's been the Jason Castro and Miguel Sano show. Robbie Grossman's done a nice job. Hit a home run yesterday off Jordan Zimmerman. More walks than strikeouts, which you always like to see. Jason Castro also more walks than strikeouts, but Miguel Sano has been kind of the showstopper for this offense with 7 of his 9 hits going for extra bases, hitting .310, on base of .459, slugging .793. That's a .250 OPS plus. He's just done a fantastic job, and defensively he's looked pretty capable and competent over at third base as well. I don't think you can complain too much about how he's played. It's obviously the finer points of his game are still a work in progress, but for a young player, he's pretty good. Max Kepler also with a home run, his first of the year yesterday, starting to round into form and look pretty good. And a couple of guys on the bench, Eduardo Escobar, Chris Jimenez also, holding their own offensively, which has been, it's a good start. Offensively, they are, third in runs scored. They are first in walks, 10th in batting average, but 5th in on-base percentage. I think that kind of tells you the story of get on base and you'll score runs. 4th in on-base and 3rd in runs scored. So, again, when we harp on OBP in the statistical community, it's because getting on base leads to runs. You got to take process over results. Right now, the Twins are valuing both, and they're getting both. And so it's been a very good look to start the season for this offense. All right. One last question here before we depart for the day. If Justin Haley can continue pitching like this, can he earn a more prominent bullpen role? That's coming from Matt Leifeld. I think he can. I just think at this point, he's kind of shoehorned into a long relief role. And, the one thing you have to keep in mind, too, is no matter how good a young pitcher, especially one that's jumping from AA looks, to start the season, it can unravel pretty quickly. And like we saw with J.R. Graham hitting Alex Rios with that pitch, I think it broke his wrist a couple years ago. It can unravel quickly for young pitchers. So as much as we want to keep thinking that guys can ascend up the bullpen rungs and down the totem pole, I think that because the bottom part of the totem pole is the most important. We do have to take baby steps. And when we're evaluating a guy like Justin Haley, who still obviously has a lot to prove. All right, that's all I got for you guys this morning. We'll catch up with you again, I think, on Monday. We'll see what there's time for. But you've been listening, to Midwest Swing, part of the Colt Omaha Podcast Network.